So as I said, we always start watercolor with white subjects when you're at the very beginning. And the reason is that you see, it looks a little bit grayer here, although actually the grayscale can kind of help us, I think, to see what's happening with the flower. So we're going to start by drawing the outline of this flower and also the outline of all the shaded areas of the flower. Okay, so that is the beginning. I'm going to walk you through it. And my suggestion is that we start with kind of an envelope of shape like this. Can you guys, no, it's not really very easy to see. Let me see if my silver is working. Silver marker, nope. Here, let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. So we're gonna start by doing this envelope of shape. I want you paying as much attention to the negative space, that is the shape between the petals, as the petal itself. This is actually a lot like, here, I'll take a picture of this so you can really see it. This is really a lot like, if there's a way, what is, just don't. There is a way to light this studio and I just don't know what it is. I've got so many things going and they just aren't working. Here we go. You'll be able to see this much better here. So we're going to start. We're literally going to start, since this flower kind of takes up much of the foreground here, we're actually just going to start kind of like this, doing this. So there's a line like this, which is like from here to here. And then this is another diagonal line. And then this goes straight down. And then this goes diagonal like that. So it's like diagonal, diagonal, straight down, diagonal. And then over, let's see, diagonal, whoops. So I kind of maybe planned this. Well, I'm okay with this. Diagonal being right here. I'm not going to get what's happening here in this area, part of the photograph. If you are, you might want to, I'm going to leave it up to you kind of how far you want to go with this. And then it's straight and then diagonal. So here, hold on. Let me, and actually it's more like a diagonal like this. Now you may need to do some adjusting. So you see how we're doing it? We're actually drawing. We're actually drawing the kind of outer shape. Did I get that right? Yeah. Maybe down here a little bit more. So that when I start sketching in the shapes, the next shapes I'm going to sketch in are going to be these, the outer shapes. I will send these over to you. We're not doing any of the inner shapes in this drawing. We're going to focus on the outer shapes as we start this flower. So here, I'm going to send this over to you. So this is step 2. So you're following the red lines. So kind of here. Be careful with your curved lines. So see, I'm doing this shape first. Right? And then I'm going to come down here and do this shape. Yeah. And then I'm going to come down here and do this shape. That might be a little too big. Right. And then I'm going to come here down in the very corner here. I'm going to do this shape. So you see, I'm focusing and I'm like, okay, that starts a little bit lower. I'm focusing and then this corner goes over to that shape. I'm not doing any of the inner lines, which might feel confusing, but believe me, is the better way to approach this. It's easier to correct. And then there's up here. And then we've got this shape, right? And then this kind of bends in like this. And then we've got this last shape. It looks like a squash starfish. Now I can actually focus on the inner petal shapes. And here's where I might need to do a little, boy, that's interesting. I can barely see. Here's where I might need to do a little adjusting. Right? There we go. I guess I can see this one going in. It's interesting. This one kind of disappears a little bit. And then, of course, we've got these stamen. They're all within the flower, which is why I had us draw. And then there's that guy. Notice I'm drawing the red bits first and then adding in there's like this thing going like that. I'll move this down a little bit. You also can't see every like stamen. I don't know if anybody remembers the flower, the lily lesson of old, but it's a lot like that. This kind of stops here. So get us to that place. And I know I just shoved a lot at you, so I'm going to stop here before we start dealing with the lights and the darks. Oh, that's great, Addie. Good job. Addie changed the icon of our WhatsApp group. I didn't even know how she did it. I don't even know how to do it myself. It's perfect.
Oh, I didn't either. It just kind of happened. I don't know.
Hi, Tashween. Hi, Gina. So here's where we are. Yeah, that seems like it's in pretty good shape. Yep. Yeah, totally, Gina, totally. And then once we get there, I'm gonna do some outlining here in gold so you guys can really see this. Okay. What I'm looking for are the shaded parts of this flower to show you what we're going to paint and what we're going to kind of leave alone. Actually, it really does follow in funny ways the lily that we drew in our very first lesson together. I didn't mean for that to happen. I just thought this was a gorgeous picture. Okay, I'm going to take this picture so you can see where we're going with this. So there's my drawing. And here is kind of the next phase. So as I said, in watercolor, we're just not going to paint the white parts. So it's very important that we're able to highlight the shadow parts of the flower. And a lot of our mixing today, I'm going to show you several mixes that you can do. A lot of our mixing today is going to be about how to do these grays in here, right? How to do the grays. You're just going to leave the whites alone. You don't have to do anything to them. I'm kind of thickening that. Send it over to me if you want me to take a look at it, your drawing or but you'll see. I'll bring this down a little bit too. There we go. So anyways, white always feels intimidating, but then after a while you're like, this is the best thing ever, because part of my painting is already done before I even started. We like to make the job easier, right? To break it down into manageable tasks. And watercolor really shows you how to do it. There we go. Maybe it's a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on here. Okay. So and this could take, you know, watercolor itself actually doesn't take that long. Let's see. So Jean, everything down here, there is a light. See how this, I'm not seeing enough actual big shapes that are light, medium, and dark. So take a look at my sketch, look more closely at this. Okay. And take a look at those shapes. That's what we're going for. Not these lines so much. Like we're actually blocking out areas that we're going to. Also, this petal here, hold on, is a little bit large. So you may want to thin it out a little bit. Okay. Otherwise, looks pretty good. And if you know, those of you who are barreling ahead, you can totally do the same thing over here with this guy. So oh. Here, I'll send it over because for some reason it is just impossible to see. So there is this external shape, you know, of this lily over here. It's mostly white with little bits of color in between. Here, I'll take a picture of that too. So if you want to add that in, you totally can. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about color mixing. I might add that in. It looks kind of nice. Oh, I can see. Obviously, things don't have to be in exactly the same positions. There we go. Kind of comes down like this and comes over like that. I'm not getting into too much of the detail of the yellows back here. We can kind of make decisions about how to do that. If you can kind of add those in a little bit more loosely, I think. I mean, they are light. So here's one of the rules of watercolor. We need to be careful with watercolor because if we go too dark, we can't go back, right? So if you go too dark, so although we are going to work on our darks, because of course we're not going to paint our lights at all. Am I breaking this thing? There we go. Right, we're just going to let our lights be light. We are going to have to be careful as we lay in these darks that we don't make them too dark. There's a couple of ways to do this. Let's see. Not bad, Addie. Okay. Go ahead and add, if you want to add in this flower, you can. Pretty good. Notice we don't really have, and if you want to, you can also erase this part, the outside edge, once you, if you can remember where it is. There we go. Yes. You can erase the outside edge. The pencil in watercolor really adds some beautiful structure, but you don't want to overdo it. So we use it to help us remember what to keep things light. And so when we mix and add colors, we're going to have to do a lot more testing to make sure that our colors aren't too dark before we add them on. So the other thing that you're going to need, I know some of you are not there yet. I'm just kind of prepping you for what you're going to need. You're going to need a little testing paper here. This is just printer paper. It's something I'm going to paint on before I try to paint on this. And I'll show you what I mean by that. You're going to want your palette. Oh, I should clean off my palette. Maybe I can do it like this. Yeah. Nope. You want to do that for me, huh? Here, hold on. I'm going to bring this down a little bit so my palette can fit up there too. Working on a drawing table, trying to fit everything in the picture is tricky. You'll notice I have to take the, I can't actually have the picture here as I'm working to show you how to mix. So I'm going to rely on you to take a look at it. I'll bring it back when I can, but for the moment, like this mixing that's going to happen, this testing and mixing that's going to happen, we're going to practice with. Okay, although actually I do want to look at it here. So let's see, let me put this here. Why? There we go. Okay. Is anybody ready? Do you guys still want a little bit more time to work on your drawings?
I'm ready.
Okay, ready? Okay.
Are you going to start with the dark?
We're going to start with the very dark around it. Yeah. Yeah, we're totally going to do that because that's going to, I like to start with the darks because I'm less likely to screw them up, right? Like I'm less likely to do that. Also, they're going to help us to balance how dark we want to go inside our flower. So to me, when I look at this dark, it's a very rich dark green in most places. Let's see. Nice, Diana, that's coming along great. It's done. No.
Yeah, right.
It's done. You're
Yeah.
done. At every level, it's done. It's so cute. You should just keep a picture and run them all. Here we go. So this dark green, I'm not going to get just by mixing green. I'm going to try a little viridian green. And I'm going to mix it with a little bit of alizarin crimson here. So you see how I'm taking a little bit of one and then a little bit of another to make a kind of dark, rich blend. And before I put it on the paper, I'm going to test it on my testing paper. Now that looks pretty dark and pretty good. I could maybe, if I want to make it lighter, I dip my brush in the water and go back again. Can you see how that's a little bit lighter? And I'm going to add my, here, hold on. I'm going to add my workstation here so that you can see what I'm doing, how much I'm dipping in the water. Oh, and don't forget, very important. So here's my water cup, right? And my brush. Don't forget your blankie. Clutch that blankie. Because sometimes if you go too dark, you can dab it off, right? You can see I already left that and it's kind of not even possible to dab it off. But sometimes you can dab it off with your blankie if you go too dark. But the real way to stop from going dark, and see as I dip my brush in again, see that it gets lighter. So when you're adding your colors on and you're mixing them in these little trays. So this is Viridian Green and alizarin Crimson. And then we're going to go around the edge. I'm going to test it here. And then I'm going to go around the edge of my flower. Now, as I do that, I don't know if you can see this. It's already lightening here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to remove this because I don't think you need to see me dipping in the water. You might. But if you can see, so I'm now dipping in the water. I'm blending more alizarin Crimson and Viridian Green together. You can see I'm basically mixing them here. It's looking fairly gray. That's okay. We can go over the top of watercolor if it's lighter. We cannot go over watercolor if it gets too dark, right? So see the appeal to starting dark? It means I'm going to be able to shape my flower. And it's going to help me figure out how light to make everything else. Look what happens when I do it too. It's very appealing. Also, look how fast this process is going. I mean, I know I'm fast, but even for me, this is fast. Also, look at what happens as it dries. See how it's lightening as it dries? So that's okay. That's good. We want that. But if you did this kind of level of darkness in here, that would be too dark. I'm going to go very carefully. I am using my La Perla 1/2 inch Escoda Spanish brush with the bristles. Oops. See, now look what I did there. I went too dark. I wasn't paying attention. I'm pulling it off. I should be testing first before I lay any color down. I should be testing it on here. There we go. That's better. Before I lay any color down. I'm not going much farther than the flower because there's areas of this that are light and yellow and you may want to put those in later. And in fact, there's a little bit of yellow here. So when we get to this point, let's stop, clean our brush. I'm squeezing it out with my blankie. I call this my blankie because it stops a lot of mistakes from happening. And then I'm pulling in a little bit of yellow on my brush just to see what happens. I'm trying a couple different yellows. It's looking kind of green still. I think because my water is a little bit green, but I think that's okay. I could come in here and add a couple of yellow bits just up in here, right? Because there's some yellow areas. You can see them, they're right here. Before I go back, let's see, I'm trying to push this up. Right. And then I can kind of work around with the rest of the dark. So I will slow down after this. I just want to get this. Here's the other, so you'll see watercolor is quick. It's really expressive. Nobody does it the same. The mark making is really dynamic from the beginning. And you either hit it or you don't. Let's see, Tashween, I want to take a look. That looks great. Addie, wow, yeah, it's pretty good. That Addie, that's Diana and her doggy and her kitty. Maybe you should try a painting like that. Right. So you can see actually when I mix these two colors together that things are kind of grayer and duller. They'll get darker and richer. And just to show you what I mean, here I can mix again and do a second layer. I'll just come down here because it's dry. See how much, look at that. So see, I can go back in and I can darken here. I'm not going to do much because I would like to actually keep this at this level of color. But look at how I can go back over. It has a lot more green. This one has, right? So I can get in here and start tweaking the color more. Here, I'm going to stop at this point and take a picture and let you guys send stuff in. I know it's looking kind of muckety muck right now. So it is okay if you're still drawing. Take your time. I wanted to get those who are ready to go kind of going, but I also want you to really enjoy this process. If you want to, you can layer in some kind of yellows over here where you see these dots and then work if you want to. But when you're ready, I'd like to talk to you about mixing color for the flower itself. So notice just with this one task, by the way, how much testing I did, how much paint I laid down on testing paper. So the trick with watercolor is you should test every stroke of your brush. You should test, particularly as we get into lighter areas. You guys tell me when you're ready. Grant, that's looking pretty brown. I'm not sure why. Is that just the colors?
I always make brown when I mix color.
Okay, so let's work on that. What color are you using? Viridian green and alizarin crimson?
I'm using alizarin crimson, but I don't have, the only green I have is permanent sap green.
Well, that's your problem. So maybe that's your problem. Maybe try adding a little blue to that. Permanent sap green is a horrible color. It just is. You need to get yourself some Viridian. But in the meantime, try mixing in a little blue, right? It's a very different green than this kind of beautiful pastel-y green. That's why you get brown. That's why you're getting brown right now, because you're mixing something that has so much yellow in it that when you mix it with red, it doesn't create a beautiful, vibrant, dark. It creates a kind of murky Yellow. Okay. Otherwise, looks pretty good. Color is good. Anybody else ready to be told their color is ridiculous? Don't all line up now.
Trying.
I know.
No, I'm trying to get a photo.
You're trying to send me a photo.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna
Ask Addie to help you. She's really good with this. Addie's our tech master.
I hardly know what I'm doing on Zoom. I don't call
See?
me your tech master.
Oh my God, you know so much more than we do.
That's a very low bar.
Yeah, it's a low bar. We're not saying much. We need an 11-year-old. You know, when I started out teaching a kids class last year because I wanted to offer something to parents, right? Because all of a sudden everybody's kids were home. And the kids immediately figured out how to take over my Zoom screen and start drawing on it and writing things on it. Like, how did you do that? And, you know, they couldn't tell me at all how. They weren't trying to stop me from doing it or figuring it out. They just couldn't explain it. But they, in seconds, within the first class, I was like drawing something and little hearts started appearing all over it. And then, like, somebody began like drawing their name, and it was crazy. It was hilarious. I was like, all right, we know who rules the world besides girls. All right, let's see. Nice, Jillian. Looks kind of black, but I think that's okay.
It looks less black in real life.
In real life, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of shadows happening around me.
Yep, gotcha. I gotcha. All right, so I think everybody looks like they're ready to start dealing with grays. So let's talk about this. So in the whites, there are gray areas. And when I look at this, it's kind of a, can everybody see it? I don't know if you can see it on this screen, but if you look at the original picture, there's actually a lot of, it's kind of a yellowy gray. Here, hold on. Let me send the original picture so you can see it again. You know, actually, in truth, that's just what's showing up on my printout. I should actually look at the original picture to see what the original gray is. Oh, yeah, it's not so yellow. All right, so I'm going to give you options. When you are mixing grays, you get to sort of test what mixing the different complements will do. What do I mean by that, by the way? What do I mean by the complements? How do we get gray with a complement?
We use the opposite colors.
The complementary colors, right? There are 3 complementary color pairs: purple and yellow, blue and orange, red and green. We used one to create our background because our background was green. So we mixed a little bit of the complement in to create a kind of gray. You guys are going to get to play with the grays that you like the best. I'm going to show you how to mix all 3. Well, you've done red and green, so we already know how to do that one. We're going to do a purple and yellow. So hang on here. I need a little bit more ultramarine blue. So I'm going to take, and by the way, for those who are just popping into this, I use tubed paint. You're going to find out why later, the advantage of tube paint. But of course, what happens is you pour it in and then it dries. So it's a little bit like pats. Like you can see this, I poured these in last night. They're all completely dry. So I try to keep, a little pat in the same places every time. So this is my ultramarine blue tray. I know that because I actually have it labeled ultramarine blue on the back here. So if it's not obvious and I can't see it. So as I'm replenishing in the same area. It's kind of pure pigment and pure color. And then, later you can fold it up and put it away like that, just like a sort of dry pad. You can also use the dry pads. As I said, I'll show you, there's some flexibility with the tubes that's really helpful. All right, so I've got a little bit of ultramarine blue.
Hey, Leah, does the paint not chip off when it's dry and when you close that thing?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really great. And in fact, it doesn't even chip off wet. Nope, doesn't. I've carried this thing everywhere. I love this. It costs like $10. It's got, 4 mixing trays, and it's got all these areas where you can keep color going.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's really great, and it's small. It's very compact. It's like the size of my hand. So I really like it. But, there's a lot of different things you can use. But the key is you want a clean space to do your mixing. So you'll notice I just took my blankie, added a little water to it, and scrubbed it out because it had colors from last night, and I wanted to keep these clean, right? So as I'm starting my mixing, and here, hold on, I might flip back here. I'm going to add the spotlight so you can see where I'm dipping. So here I'm dipping in the water. And you can't really mix with a palette knife with watercolor. You have to use your brush. So I'm pulling a little blue out of here. And then I'm grabbing a little bit of quinacridone red so I can make a purple. See how I'm mixing that blue and purple. And then I'm going to try adding a little yellow to it. This is a color called gamboge. It's a really beautiful yellow. So I've got this color here. And now before I even put it on, I'm going to test it here. It actually makes quite a beautiful gray. And a slightly yellow infused gray, but just depending, if there's too much yellow, you can put more purple in. If there's too much blue, you can put more red and yellow in. If there's too much red, you can put more, of the other colors in. You'll get a gray. But this is definitely too dark. So I'm going to dip my brush in water again and do a very light version of this when I go. See how light that is? How much light? You can barely see it. So I know when I go in and start working these colors. So I could do this gray and put it in all these different areas. I could try that, a purple yellow mix. So I start by making the mix, then I test it. If I like the color, I dip it in water once more until I get it to a lightness that's like, see, it's almost transparent. You almost can't see it, to start layering in color in the areas that are shadowed. I can also do blue and orange. I actually happen to have some orange here, so I'll pull that over here. And I tend to, when I'm working with a color, I tend to go to the lighter pigment first. So the orange first, so I don't have to dip back into the orange with my blue. And then I might have to clean it up. Although in this case, you need a little bit more orange. Oh, now I need a little bit more blue. See, it's easy to lose your balance. Don't worry about it. Just keep mixing if it's too blue. So here's another gray I can try. And that has a slightly bluer tinge to it. I like it. It may be the gray you want to use, or maybe you want to experiment with all of them, but that just needs to be lighter. And then, so we'll see, we've done purple and yellow, we've done blue and orange. You could also try red and green, but we've kind of done that for our background. I feel like our colors, our flower itself should have a different shade of gray on it. So now your challenge, right, is to mix a gray. Let me come over here and sort of show you the whole move. So as I'm going in and adding gray areas here, every time I go in, I'm testing first to make sure that my gray, I don't want to go too dark. I want it really light because I can go back in and darken if I want to. And I want to avoid these white areas, which I'm trying to keep white. I was actually more digging the purple. So I'm going to use that in here. And then see how I'm coming up here. Oops. I know it's always darker towards the center of the flower. It's interesting. It's, yeah, you can kind of tell where the light's coming from. I think the light's coming from this direction because this is the lightest part. So you see how light I'm laying on my, and see how I'm testing every time and I'm lightening with water. This is also why I lay down this color first to help me gauge. There might be a few darks. It's a subtle thing. And you have to be careful because in here are some of these stalks are a little bit light too. I mean, you can maybe get this layer of lightness on them, but you would want to be careful not to get much more than that. So we have something that looks here. I'm going to remove this so you can see this a little bit closer. I wanted you to see how much I was dipping in the water. So see, then I can, as I'm working more, I can get more darkness out here. I can kind of generally layer in more colors. The real color that's here is in this green stalk and this kind of green center. So for that, I'm going to be mixing green, Viridian green, and yellow because I want it to be, it's almost yellow. Really, it's yellow more than it is green. And I want just a teeny touch of cadmium red in there, not too much. Oh, see, that was too much. Might have to mix it over, get more yellow in. Teeny touch of cadmium red, just enough to create and more yellow to lighten it. Let's see. Yeah, that is a really beautiful green. Radiant green or sap green for you, Grant, and a little bit of blue, ultramarine blue. Yellow, any yellow, try all the yellows. But the important thing is to get a touch of red into that green mix. And then I can add it in here. And notice I'm using my big brush. This brush kind of comes up to a point. It's really thin and fine. So you can see I can use it for so many things. I'm kind of sticking it in there. I'm kind of it's kind of popping out here. I want to be careful not to get too dramatic with that though, right? Because it's a subtle color. Up here, it's a little darker. Well, we'll get to that in a second. We've also got these stamen. Well, okay, I'm going to stop. Sorry, am ready to jump ahead and keep going, but I'm not going to do that to you. I will slow down. I will take a picture of this. Bye, Gina.
Hi, Gina.
Looking pretty good, Tashween. Looking good. All right, so I'm going to show you where I'm at right now. And yeah. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm rushing a little bit. It's because I'm trying to rush ahead to show you what to do and then stop so you can catch up. And in fact, I'm going to go and get a little cup of tea so that I don't rush even further ahead. I will be right back. Well, also because I want a cup of tea, but you guys could probably use a chance to catch up. How's it going, guys? Are you enjoying it? It's kind of fun, isn't it? It's a little fast and nerve-wracking. Like it's like, ah! But it's kind of great too. There's a kind of great rushiness to this process. That I just think there's nothing else quite like it. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, because my favorite brush to use for oil, where is it? My favorite brush to use for oil and acrylic is this one. It has a scruffy top because I spend a lot of time with oil and acrylic pushing it to try and create these soft edges, right? And to have this rough surface is really fantastic. But with watercolor, you don't need that. This, look at this, look at the comparison of these brushes. This is my favorite watercolor brush. And this is my favorite like oil brush. And the reason is that watercolor, when you just put one stroke on it, right? One stroke, it interacts with the bumpy texture of the watercolor paper. And it has this kind of uneven texture that's applied with the water. So it doesn't matter like what you like watercolor, what you need with watercolor is something you can control more because texture is automatically applied. You can't really control what the texture is going to do. Y'all are probably noticing if something is dry, like things are dry here, so I can now come back in and very easily darken, right? Like this area, if I want to. But if it was wet, you'll see that the color bleeds a little bit. There we go. So it's helpful to kind of be aware of what, happens when it's wet or dry. There's a lot of things that are kind of out of your control, I guess I'm saying, in watercolor, and that's kind of what makes it fun. And also what makes it like, woo, fast and furious and all of that. And very expressive. Everybody, you can already see by what people have turned in, you already have a way with your brush that's going to be different than mine and different. Nice job, Addie. Good job, Tashween. Yeah, it's good. Let's see. Eugene, that's looking nice. That's looking really great. Eugene, you can go way darker here. Don't feel afraid. I love this. This looks great, but don't be afraid to go dark here because we want this dark so that we can compare it to our lights in here. But that's gorgeous. Really nice. Tashween, that's not bad, but it looks very red to me. These, they do not look gray to me. They look red. So what was your mix for mixing the shadows?
Purple and yellow.
It looks very, in this, is everybody else seeing red? Does it look red? It's too red and purple. Do you see this is almost a pink here?
Okay. Yeah.
So what I'd like you to do is take a little bit of water on your brush and try and pull off a little bit. Add some water and pull off a little bit. And then I want you to try again with that mix. Because this is definitely not I mean, it's pretty. I'm not going to tell you it's not pretty, but it's not really gray, right? It doesn't look gray. It looks pink to me, unless that's just the color from the photograph.
It might be a little bit of both.
Okay. All right. So try mixing more blue and yellow. I want to see your testing of your color before you put it on here. So try mixing some gray, that purple, try mixing that purple yellow mix again and test it on here so I can see it. Test it on a piece of paper so I can see it. And that's okay. This is hard to do and get it right. Yes, I'm not above the idea that this might totally be the lighting of your photograph, or you know what I mean? That's not the actual light. Let's see. So Jillian, this is nice, but it's a bit dark.
Which one? Where?
This is nice, but your shadows are a bit dark.
Oh, like all of them?
All of them. Can you not
Okay.
see that as a values match? You can get a little darker, but you went too dark. I mean, you can do something with this, but it does not, if you look, your value here, this is like a 0.5. If light is 1, this is like a 1.5 and this should be a 5. What you've got here is like a 3.
Okay.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going a little too dark too fast. However, just keep going. Just be aware of that.
Okay.
That like you can't go back now. So and you can't really get any darker. So it's going to affect your finals. But I'll show you a couple of things.
Okay.
Go ahead and get your greens in. Lana, yours, I'm sorry, your shadows look totally pink to me too. Do you see that? They're pink. They're not gray. Addie, nice mixing, nice color mixing. Yep. Just go ahead and get that bright yellow green in here. And let's get let's get some of those red. Let's get some. So I've been using that big brush, but now I'm going to switch over to a little skinny brush like this, just to show you in comparison. This is the difference in size. We've got these red stamen here, which I think are going to really help us. There's a bit that really looks quite red. I'm trying to decide if we should maybe add a little bit of yellow to your red, make it slightly orangier. So I'm mixing cadmium red and a little bit of yellow. And here I'm going to add in these red stamen. Now I know that they've got dark bits, so we're going to add the red bits in first, and then later we'll go back over and add in the darks. You can see already this is kind of fading a little bit, but I wanted us, once again, it's better to go light than it is dark. Okay, and in certain areas, it is darker. The shadows are a little bit darker. Maybe you can even see a kind of a hue, like it's bluer or yellower. Like in here, look, to me, it looks a little bit darker. So I'm going with a slightly darker version of, say, my purple. Yeah. And here it's like kind of a little bit darker, and it's a sort of a down here, there's a little bit of texture. Oops, see how quickly you run out of color here. And here, sort of, there's some texture in the leaves that's slightly, or the petals that's slightly darker that you want to kind of go in and add. There's a few lines as well that are slightly darker. So here is where we can start to, it's kind of, I should be careful. I don't want to go too dark too quickly. So you see how I can start to add in details here? I can maybe go slightly darker here in places. It's a little bit darker. So I'm just going in with a slightly darker layer to do, and I'm looking more closely at my source to see what has kind of darker areas. Notice I'm almost always testing so that I don't get too dark. Because if I get too dark, I can't go back. Okay, so here's a great example. Now I'm going to show you why tube paint is helpful. Because here my background kind of bled into my white flower edge. So I am going to actually, yes, there is a use for white watercolor paint, not for painting white areas particularly, but if you have wet tube paint, I don't know if you can see this. I'm scooping up wet. Oh, it's not even wet enough here. Hold on. I need to get this stuff underneath, which is wetter. Yeah, I want my brush to be just wet enough. I don't really want it to be runny. I want to be able to pick up a big glob of this white. And I can come in and repaint. Sometimes I can add white back in. See that? Not all the time. But sometimes I can go in and kind of touch up the whites. I can also use this to kind of bring in a few of these white light areas. So sometimes it's nice. I'm not really using any water. So sometimes it'll often dry, and you don't want to overdo it because it doesn't look fantastic when you overdo it. But if you want to add in a few strong whites, You can sometimes do that with the tubed white. And now it's just a question of kind of adding in your darks. So there's a dark here on the edge of the red. I'm going to mix, I'm going to do my typical, oops, I ran out of paint here. Hang on. I'm going to use, okay, so this is burnt umber. Burnt umber and ultramarine blue makes a nice dark, a nice rich dark. So I'm taking ultramarine blue and burnt umber, mixing them together to get a nice dark. I'm testing it here. I'm watering it down just a touch. And then I can come in here and add in dark, because there's a little bit of dark around the edge of all these reds. And then because my red is kind of faded, I can go back in and add another layer of red. So I'm going right back in with cadmium red and darkening. Oh, might be too dark. Go back one layer. Maybe a little too dark. So I might want one dip of water in the brush before adding in the red. Right. I can see that this little part here, so here's where I'm starting to work details, right? I've got this little part here that's dark green, so I'm mixing a little green and red together. There's tiny, tiny little bits of dark green. So I'm taking that dark green and spreading it just in a few places to provide structure. You see how little there really needs to be. So now I'm just going back in and kind of filling in more of the colors. And I can, you know, go back in also and darken a little bit. Oops, that's too dark. Look at where the areas are darkest. The other thing I can do is actually, I can take my white and go around the edge to kind of strengthen the line if I want to. That can kind of help sometimes. And in some cases, I can take a little bit of shadow color as well to kind of strengthen my petal lines. You want to be careful not to overdo that, but it can be helpful. I can see that up here. And notice how I'm kind of returning to my, I have a mix, you know, I have that blue purple mix already. It's kind of laying here at the bottom of my pit. So I'm coming back in. It's kind, I have a little pool of it here. It hasn't dried yet. So in a few places, I can darken. So see, Jillian, the darks will help you, and there are darks there, but you want to like really layer them in slowly so you can get that subtlety and transitions between the lights that are here. That's, I guess, the biggest takeaway from all this.
So should I go around mine with white?
You can try.
Okay.
It may work, it may not. I guess my point is it may work, or it may, you know, we may just be, you know, having to try it again.
That's okay.
You know what I'm, yeah. Well, what's nice is look how fast you went, right? So it's not a slow process. Yeah, try going it around, or maybe even a very light gray. You could also try going around the edge of your petals.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, right? Just to give it a little structure. The trick with lilies is that they've got this incredible structure, but it's very uniform. I'm actually liking how that's looking in this particular case. That wouldn't always be my solution, but I think it might be a good solution here. Sometimes your pencil lines can help you. Yeah, it's starting to look kind of pretty. This is a very watery green. Yeah, so now we're just looking for these little pops of color. It's the less is more. I'm going in with some yellow. Kind of over. That's a nice ringtone.
Usually it gives me an ignore button. This time it's not.
Oh, that's yours. Nice. Yeah, Jillian, I think this is a good, I think going over, are you liking what's happening as you're going over with the gray?
Yeah,
I am too.
definitely.
I'm liking it. It's giving the petals just that much more structure.
Yeah, it's like they're getting more depth and
yeah, it's just giving enough structure.
Mhm.
All right. And then I'm also actually I kind of like my flowers looking. Now I might want to like kind of come over to this side. Add in some bright before I get any other colors in there. Oops, here. Got another testing sheet. I'll put it right here since I'm not working on this part, right? I want like yellow or maybe this. Oh, that gamboge is so pretty. If I added a little red to it, what would happen? Yeah, very rich. So I could also kind of come over here and add in a few yellows and greens right around this bit. I can always go over these. This might help me to get some balance kind of happening in my composition. I can see I'm really avoiding doing anything that's white, right? So there's a little bit of yellow up here. There's some yellow down here. This turns kind of green. All my greens I'm mixing with just a touch of red, even the very yellowy ones you want. Have a little touch of red in them because all landscape greens have a little red. So really, watercolor is a lot about painting grays. I mean, it's about getting dynamic color and all of that in there, but it's a lot about grays, these beautiful grays. Now here, I can also maybe add a couple more. So I'm working my background, adding my lighter colors in, and then I'll go over. It's definitely generally just darker. Oh, where's my testing sheet? Down here. So I can kind of go around my flower again, right, with my even darker darks. I can start, you'll definitely want to go back to your bigger brush for this. See how I can blend some darker colors in over these greens here, so that you've got this kind of nice little variation happening. So you can start working your background. And I'm not worried about going dark because the background really is quite dark. So I can go really, really dark here to help push things out. It doesn't even have to be totally even, because what's happening here is not exactly even, right? There's these. Yeah, the darker I go, the richer this flower looks. See how this is starting to have a kind of prettiness to it? Not exactly what I was controlling or expecting, but a kind of softness I'm really enjoying. Yeah. This is an interesting subject because there's so little color, but the color that's there is very flashy. These little pops of red and green. So there are other ways to preserve your whites. Some artists use masking fluid. I don't know. I've always thought that was cheating a little bit, that your hand should be kind of steady enough, right, that you can learn to leave your areas.
That's how I got the snow on my Christmas tree.
Yeah, but I think in general, as a watercolorist, you should be able to, yeah, so it's good for like very specific projects, but you should be able to, with your hand, sort of protect the areas that are light, work around them. But that's me. I spend a lot of time thinking about what's like, I have my own little random rules about, I don't know, what I think is fair and not fair, like what's legit and not legit. Probably watercolorists would be horrified. They'd be like, oh my God, it's essential to have masking fluid, blah, blah, blah. So they'd be like pissed at me if I said that. But this is me as a kind of, I do watercolor, but it's not my main medium. So I have different kind of expectations from it, from somebody who's working really realistically, say. I guess this is all just to say you can listen to what I say, and you can also challenge what I say. And you may find that there's some things you like about this and some things that you don't, and that's okay. What's really cool is it's definitely your voice that's coming through, because you can't help it, right? You can't help but have it there. Oops, too dark. Kind of nice. Oh, I wanted to show you guys one other thing I like to do with my pieces, which makes them kind of instantly more appealing. I will tape, because I sell a lot of these. I will often tape, instead of drawing a line around the edges, I'll tape the edges down like this with no pencil line. So I don't know if you can see this, but it leaves this, as you pull it off, it's like, ooh, hey, it's framed, right? Like a nice framed quality to it. So if you want to do that, you can measure out, like this is an 8 by 10 inch painting. And then I measured out and have, you can buy this little skinny artist tape. It's really great. Skinny artist tape. It's like 1/2 inch. And this, see, so now there's no line here, but there's a very strong border. I don't know. I think in some ways that can be kind of nice. Let's see. Sorry, I probably haven't even been looking at what's up here. Where are we? Yeah, Toshween, those look better to me. Oh, there you go. That's lovely. Yeah, nice, 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 nice. Toshween, you have quite the eye happening here. It's really interesting. Oh, yum. Oh, yummy. Great class today. Addie, that looks great. I'd love to see what everybody else's, how everybody else's looks. Wonderful. Wonderful. Lana, better. You know, Jillian, there's this way I really like this piece. It's really, in a way, it's kind of beautiful in that exact spot that you had it. Or I'm curious to see what where you've pushed it.
Okay.
Yes, send it over. Having just said, oh my God, so dark, blah, 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 blah. There's also something I like about it. So I like that too. Oh, iftar. Nice. These are all lovely. Addie, are you happy with your watercolor painting? I think it looks great. Let's see. Oh, yeah. That's great, Jillian. I love it. Just keep going. Yes, I think the gray, I like how the gray, I like that texture of the outline.
Yeah.
Pretty. It's really pretty. Yeah, just finish this thing. We have another half hour, so.
Yeah, you're right though. For a white flower,
It's a little too dark.
not so white anymore.
Mhm. So Jean, I'm going to tell you the same thing. I feel like you've lost, there's a couple things happening here. Number one is I think you lost your drawing a little bit. Number two, and this may just be the color, your these don't look gray to me. They look red.
No, they look pink. I know.
They look pink. Yeah, which is not really gray and doesn't really work in this context as much. So I would, and I think you cut in your flower too much. Can you see? So you've kind of lost these guys are really in the center here, and you've got these lines kind of splaying off. So this has become, I'll tell you, the brightness of your reds. This is great. This is really great. But I think you lost a little control of your shape here. You might try putting some white in here and filling this back in.
Okay.
Try it. I mean, it might be too dark, but do you see what I mean? You have this kind of here.
I totally see what you mean.
Yeah, you need to connect these in the center. So try and take your greens and connect them together. And try a slightly more gray. I mean, there's some very pretty, but even having said that, it's kind of some pretty elements to it, isn't it? It's like really pretty. So pretty. So pretty.
So pretty.
So pretty. But I guess what I'm just pointing out is let's not lose control, right? We want to be able to manage our mistakes. And the best way to do that is to kind of keep with the shapes. Because if we go too dark in light areas, yada, 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 you know, you know, whole thing, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. And notice it's like 5 o'clock and we have like tons of time. This is the thing about watercolor. So for those of you who are so inclined who want to hang around for another half hour, you should try this lesson again. Try drawing the flower again. And for those of you who have other things, you can jump off.
Do you have another class? Oh.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. My class goes till for another half hour.
Oh, I see.
So you can stop here, or you can do another watercolor. Basically, you can try this watercolor again, or just maybe try the flower again. So we have half an hour and you've all pretty much made you've all like made your painting in like 90 minutes. Normally these classes go 2 hours. So what I like to do in this case is to encourage people to try this again. With what you know the first time, try it again and see what happens. Because you have time to draw this again and paint this again if you want to hang around for another half hour.
I have so screwed up my hand.
Let's see.
It's not watchable right now. There it is.
Okay, let's see.
I'm holding it up.
Oh, I can't. Can you take a picture, madam?
Yeah, I can. It's just so
It's
screwed
not
up
easy
right
for
now.
me to see this on Zoom.
It's so screwed up right now. But
You don't have to send it over if you don't want to. Do you want to work on it a little bit more before you send it over?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Oh. I can make a fool out of myself.
Yes, we all can.
Diana knows we're all going to love it anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing.
I love that stage of the process where you're like, oh my God, this can't possibly be.
I'm sure it will come together, but
Yes, but that stage when it's the
Yeah.
awkward stage is just fantastic because all paintings go there. Oh, that's not so bad, Diana. It's not as bad as you think it is. I feel like you need to get your nose more graceful.
oh yeah, I mean, I just
Yeah, I actually don't think the hand is bad at all. Why do you think it's bad? I think it actually reads really well.
okay, good.
Yeah. I like the perspective of the couch. I like Julia over there. This is so great. Did your husband take this picture?
Yeah.
Also, I love that you've done this on a black gessoed canvas. It's really fun.
Yep.
It's
I'll-
great. It's in great shape. It's in such great shape. All the bones are there.
Yeah, I can't
It's-
decide. I can't decide what I'm gonna do about the background though. I'm gonna have one sort of.
I know it's always your question what to do
Yeah.
with the background.
I'm gonna have a skewed. I'm gonna have a skewed picture there in the corner, but I don't know
Okay.
if I should have another one. I have no idea.
Maybe a yellow. Well, let's see. Hold on. Let me look here. What's hitting that plane?
I can.
Oh, how about a purple background? Oh,
Yeah.
Addie, that's beautiful. Love what you've got going on here. Nice. Very pretty. What I think a light purple or maybe a darker purple since your couch is kind of a mid-tone.
Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be the color of the.
Oh, got it, got it.
Right.
All right, then I would do maybe a kind of mid-tone purple.
Yeah.
Addie, you look like you're having fun with this watercolor. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really liking it. It's great.
It's really fun, isn't it? It's so because, right, like the water and the paint and the brush create this texture that you couldn't even imagine in your dreams. Like you didn't even know you wanted that texture until it happened, right? With the brush. That's a kind of amazing.
What happened now?
Somebody just sent over a bunch of really cute panda photos.
Yeah, that was Olga, right?
Yes, and now I'm trying to decide which one we're going to paint tomorrow. I was going to do a flower, but I like the panda.
It's
There's
got a lot of
one.
white.
This one's pretty cute.
Yeah. Super cute. And it's
Super
got
cute.
a lot of colors in the white.
It does in the white, so it would be fun to do. Oh my God, though. Look at that, though. Look at that. A baby panda. It's like, oh my God, and a red panda. And look at these little babies just laying there.
Yeah, it is.
They're like little dogs. Yeah, maybe this one or this one. Hard to see the eyes on this one.
Yeah, I like the first one, but I think it's probably too difficult with the teeth.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, it ends up looking sort of more sinister. Okay, got it.
You don't
Yep.
want a sinister panda.
You don't want it, right? Totally.
Hey, Leah, I've got to run. Thank you.
Okay, Addie, you did great today. We'll see you next
Thanks.
week.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
But yeah, let's just play with what. Let's keep playing with watercolor. We got a half an hour. We can do whatever we want.
It was so nice to get to paint today. It's been too stressful.
Has it still? I thought you got over all the stressful stuff. Oh,
No.
then that 13-year-old was shot and killed. That was
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah, better, Jean, getting there. I don't think your whites are going to be able to cover it though.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're just not. So that's something to keep in mind, right?
Mhm.
Don't lose your shape. Don't lose your shapes. Bring in your yellows so that they connect in the middle, because really the yellow lines all connect in the middle.
Ah,
And
okay. That's
that'll
good.
look a little bit less disparate like it is right now. I mean, there's a beauty to it, don't get me wrong. But I want to keep you focused on shape. Nice. You could do another one and actually make it a different color. You know, we could do it again and make it a different color. That would be fun too. Let's see. I send that over.
I keep leaning into the dark with my hand and making a mess of things. That's
Yeah,
part-
yeah.
It's easily done.
The best thing you can do is just what you did and be aware. Okay, I sent that over. Okay, Panda tomorrow.
What kind of watercolor paints do you have, Leah?
That's a good question. I use a combination of Van Goghs, and I use a lot of Winsor Newton.
Okay.
Yeah. However, when I replenish from different places, I sometimes grab, Winsor Newton is really the ones I use the most. Which ones do you use? That's what I seem to have the most.
These are probably really cheap.
Do they have a name?
These are called Pre. P-R-E.
P-R-E. And are
Yep.
they tubed watercolors or are they in pats?
They're tubed, but some of the colors you were talking about I didn't have. So
so yes, it'll be helpful to get those. I can put the list across.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Winsor Newton, if you buy the set, it's not that much, and it has most of the colors Leah likes.
It does. Yeah, right. It's all right. Like the point is, it's like I have the set of colors I use. Some other teacher is going to have other colors they use.
That's true.
Yes, but Leah, you're
But
right.
Winsor and Newton are good on all paint.
Winsor Newton are good. Although I just bought a bunch of replacement Van Goghs, and I like these too. They seem to be pretty good. But yeah, I tend to gravitate towards Winsor Newton.
Mm-hmm. And I love your palette as well.
Oh, this thing, isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that great? I love this. This you can get on Amazon for like $10. Honestly, it's
Nice.
there. Some people like to use ceramic because it cleans easier. But I just like this little, I just think and I do, in theory, I agree with them. In principle, I just love it. It's funny, you have your things that you do, right? And your tools that you love. And I think they all have to do with how you do watercolor. I don't spend hours and hours doing watercolor. right? It's often like, it's very quick for me. And it's like either I'm sketching something that I want to show bigger. I will often do commissions in watercolor if I'm trying to show a composition. I will do it in watercolor first so that people can see where things are, because that's the quickest medium to get it done in. Yeah, I mean, it's very, but other, there, you can get it. There are people who get a tremendous amount of detail in watercolor. Yeah, it just depends on how much you want to work on it. So for me, because I like it, this fits my concept of how I used it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when you do commissions, you'll do one in watercolor and then you'll go ahead and do it in
Oil or acrylic. Yeah, let me see if I have any watercolor sketches just to show you. Hold on, let me look around.
Okay.
Let's see if I can show you a couple.
There's such
Yeah, when I have really complex stuff, that's what I like to do.
And it's a good way of planning a painting too.
It is, because it goes fast, because I don't really care, right? Like you don't care, like somehow, even with the acrylic studies, I tend to put too much work into them. And these are just quick, it's
you
quick
can get
medium.
the composition down and the shadows and everything.
So here, hold on. I'm just emailing this over to somebody I need to. Un momento. Let me see. I think I might have a couple floating around. I just finished a very complex composition, this underwater cityscape that was 2 by 4 feet in oil. And since it isn't a real place, I had to kind of make it, but there's lots of artist renderings of it. I had to kind of make it up from all these different sources. Yeah, it turned out really great. And I'll show you, you can see the piece versus the, hold on. Watercolor Lily, where are you? Wait. Panda there. Let me see what I can get. Hang on. I'm gonna do a little studio walk. Oh yeah, I got a couple. So I did find them. Here they are. So the sketches look like this.
Ooh, cool.
Oh my God, wait till you see. I'll show you the final, right? So this is it's based on a game called BioShock. So it's an underwater city, a big high-rise city that's underwater. So there always have to be fish here. Everything has to be kind of blue. And so we were kind of trying to decide how to organize the buildings. So I did a couple more, right? With just different orientations of the bit. So it's not like great painting, but it does. And we ended up sort of working on something that was a little bit, well, I mean, I'll show you. He wanted a little bit more city. He liked pieces of this. I took pieces of this and combined it with this. And so, yeah, so because in that particular case here, but hold on, I'll take you to see the actual painting itself. I'll have to get it out. It's 2 feet by 4 feet, so it's a lot bigger, and it was much darker. And then I can also say, like, don't panic. This is not the final, thing. Here, hold on. guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit dark.
What? It's dark?
Oh, it looks dark to me. I can't even see the fish.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
sorry.
better.
Sorry, the light is terrible here. We might not be able to, I'll take a picture of it and send it over so you can see it. It's, yeah, we might not be able to, let me see, I put it over here. Yes. There we go.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It turned out, what, here I am, I'm trying, here, wait, hold on, darn it, there we go. So I think it turned out, so those things help me to plan what I want to do. And then I can get into my detail. Here's my fishies right here, see, and seaweed.
Yeah.
And down over here.
Very cool.
And I wish you could see it in person. It glows. It's so like, it's very glowy and quite pretty. It's not, you know, it's got sort of these deep blue turquoises that everybody loves. And it's not, it's pretty nice.
Is this a commission?
It's a commission. Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
so,
was gonna say, how did you have the idea to do that?
oh, I never would have. I have like art all over the place and cityscapes like these behind me on several web, you know, store art platforms. One of them is called Art Finder. And this guy, you know, just said, who had never bought a painting in his life, said he and his wife are gamers. His wife is getting ready to graduate from acupuncture school, and he wanted to get her like a nice present. And they're obsessed with this game and BioShock. And he was like, I want an underwater city, and I think you can do it. And I looked at your stuff, and it, like the way you do it is like kind of the way I want it done. And so, but I've never bought a painting before.
That is so cool.
Yeah, really sweet. It was a very, I didn't make enough money on it, but it's totally okay because it was still an easy. I forgot I had to pay a commission to Art Finder.
Oh no.
That's all right. It happens. But in general, it was a really fun commission to do. I mean, the whole base of the painting is red, bright red. Like, it's completely red. And the red you can see coming through. So for me, it was fun. Like, I'd never done anything like it before. It was a challenge. I'm like, underwater city with fish swimming through. I love the colors. I'm like, I think I could do this. And so it was just fun to do. And not that hard, actually. I mean, tedious. You know, there were tedious parts of it, but it wasn't like super challenging. So yeah, so I will often do these, but these look so different, right? Like this is just, here's where things are. Here's where I could put things. This is the same proportion as a 2x4 foot, just brought down, right? So I know I'm working with the same proportions and can put the same things in. This is just a very quick way of sketching ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he knew you could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do cities, right? Like, although the truth is, I learned something a long time ago from my mother, who gave me the best advice I ever had. You guys want to hear it? Best advice ever.
Yeah.
I was like 30. I was interviewing. I forget what I was doing. I was like, I had just kind of left full-time journalism and I was looking for part-time work. And I was talking about going into an interview and saying, well, this is what I can do for you. And my mother went, you will not. You will sit down and listen to what the person who's paying you needs. Say, yes, I can do this, or no, I cannot. And she said, honey, my advice is always say, yes, you can do it. Just to go back to it. And so I will do that with paintings. Like, so I was okay with it. I mean, this one felt pretty, I felt pretty confident because I do cityscapes. That's like one of the things I do all the time. But like, I have people saying things like, will you do a 6 foot or 8 foot landscape? And I'm like, sure, why not? Like, I'll do a portrait of my son and, you know, father would just that, sure, why not? Like, I like to do that stuff because I feel like it, I shouldn't not, if I'm a painter and I'm a professional painter, that's what I should do. Like, I should paint, you know, like what people want to paint.
Plus you learn how to do it too.
Right. And you learn how to do it. And this is after 20 years, right? So this is after 20 years. Maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't have felt so confident. But after 20 years, I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to think if a commission has never worked out. I think the only one that I feel never worked out is that one with the woman and the dog. And even though I think it's a good commission, I don't feel the commissioner's happy with it. But, you know, besides that, I think in general, I find commissions kind of fun. Like I find them kind of like refreshing. Because, you know, in some ways the decisions are taken out. I mean, I'm making decisions, but in a lot of ways, I'm just doing what the person wants. So it's easier, takes a whole realm of decision making out of it, rather than something like this where I'm making all the decisions creatively, like what is happening. And I don't know.
Weren't you working on one with a fisherman? Like a landscape?
Yeah.
How'd that turn out?
Oh, great. That one was easy. The picture was perfect. There was no, Diana painted that one.
Yeah,
Loved it. Yeah. Diana painted that one because it was such a great composition.
it was. I loved it.
Jillian, we just lost her. Hey, Grant, I haven't seen, let me see yours. Yeah, I mean, I also remember there was a kid's book I remember. Oh, right, have my laptop plugged in. Oh, Eugene's is really looking great. That's beautiful. Gene, that's coming along. I like it. Jillian, thing went out. So white is easier than we think, isn't it, you guys? Because like there's just it all we have to really do. Ah, yes, doing it again. Good, Jane. Good.
This one's already better.
There you are.
Hi.
So yeah, we will be, I think we'll do things with, now I'm gonna start adding more color in the previous, tomorrow we're gonna do a panda. And then if you are around at 11 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, you can jump in. Also, and yesterday we did a coffee cup, which was really easy and kind of fun. So if you want to grab that one too, that was just, that was like
Is
super.
that the same coffee cup we did before?
No, I got a different one. Here, I'll show you. It was this one. It has a lot of white in it, so it was really easy to finish fast.
There is no end of the number of coffee cups Leah has.
I like my,
Lena can keep bringing in those coffee cups.
oh, look at it. It's so like, isn't that great? Don't you just want to own that? Of course you do. You want that in your house.
Oh, totally.
They're totally, yeah. And what's nice about this one is it's fairly easy to draw, and look at, like, there's so much white. There's like so much white. It's like a really easy. So I recommend doing all the subjects this week because I think they'll be, oh, Jillian, you pulled that one out. Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
I don't love the shape of the leaves on the first one, just because I feel like it's less organic, and like I can really see where the dark outline happened, you know?
So you might want to pay more attention to your pencil line around those edges with a similar subject, right? So that when you're going around with the dark, you're paying a little, like we're paying a little, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't bother me. So
Or maybe
I think it's just like looking at it close might bother you, but as you go farther away, step farther away from it and look at it from it. Go get up and go across the room. So like it feels more cohesive when you're stepping far away. It's just that kind of as you're constructing it that it's more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
what if like
I'll tell you what I really love about this one. You see how this shape kind of, there's a little bit of a green drip that kind of comes in here on this petal.
yeah.
The way the flower just kind of fades away into nothing is gorgeous. That's actually the most dynamic part of the painting is this petal right here. It's
Ooh.
probably the least expressed, right? It's just got one or two brush marks. You've got a tiny little drip happening. And so that feels very contemporary to me and a really, here, as you look at it,
Mhm.
it gives a lot of movement to the flower. So less is always more.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
Less is more, right? Like, and even though we want to do more, yeah, I had a sort of similar thing when I was looking at mine, and then I stepped back and went, oh no, it's fine. It's like, it's all right. Like, it reads much better than I think it does. I might do a little bit up here. I might add a little bit more shaping up in here, bring that a little bit farther. But
Do you think like using a different brush to go around the outline, like a thinner, yeah, and then
but
like,
do that later in the process, right?
oh yeah,
Do that later in the process. You don't do that at the beginning. At the beginning, you want to work with big strokes
okay,
so that you can get the expressive lines like kind of nailed down. This part, so like 90% of your painting, I think should be done with something this big. And then the last 10.
okay, like we did when we went around the edges of the flower with the
on
white.
the edge, right? And that's
Got
only
it.
if it needs it. Because if you put it in too soon, you'll ruin it.
Yeah,
With the less is more concept, which you have to kind of work on with watercolor, the building concept, you want to get the major lights and darks in first. Well, you want to get the major darks in first because, and the midtones, because the lights are already there. And from there, then you decide delicately, what things do I need to add? How much tightening do I need to do, right? Like how much detail do I need? But what's really important are these, you know, these light, medium, and dark shapes, right? So this outer shape is really important. These dark areas are, these sort of midtones are important. Kind of how you're laying off this color, like what's happening. And even if I was going to finish this, which I might, I'll look at edges like this, right? Which kind of sit a little funny to me. I'll probably try to soften them a little bit more, blend them over in here a little bit more. This one doesn't bother me as much, but like I spend more time thinking about kind of what's going on around it than the actual object. Because if you get too much detail in here, you lose the freshness. And like I said, what's the most powerful part of your piece is this unfinished, what looks like kind of it's kind of going off the page. This less expressed, less marks area actually has more dynamism to it. It's a little bit. By Grant, are you going to show us what you did or no? I promise not to yell about sap green again.
It's already gone.
Already gone. Oh, Diana, that's coming along. It's looking good. A skewed picture. I like it.
The real picture there that I have in the corner, the real picture is Paul Newman.
Oops. Hang on, my thing fell off. And all right, we're at like 8:30. Great job.
Yeah, I'm gonna run.
Okay.
I have a board meeting in an hour, so I should prepare a little bit.
Nice work, you guys. Great work today. Jean, I'm so excited about our class with
I know, me too.
like your new company. I think that's so great. It's really exciting. Jillian, it is so nice to see you. And I'm so glad to see you here in Watercolor.
Yes,
Yeah.
nice
Are
to-
you doing it again next Thursday?
Yes, I'm doing them Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So there are 3 water classes a week now until June.
Oh, exciting. Okay, great.
Jillian, you should take the pastel class.
What's that?
Jillian should take the pastel class. She would love that.
Yeah, you'd love the pastel class on Sundays. Are you getting the schedule?
Yeah, I've just like
I know you're busy. It's hard.
my schedule like changes every week / every 2 weeks, and it was just like it's been really hard. But now that it's kind of like now that I finish earlier,